ASUS monitors sometimes get stuck displaying the DVI input, even when other devices are connected via HDMI or DisplayPort. This is often due to the monitor's firmware prioritizing the DVI input or a failure to properly detect other input signals. This issue is more prevalent in older models, particularly those released before 2020. First, ensure your DVI cable is securely connected to both the monitor and your computer. Loose connections can prevent proper signal transmission. Next, inspect the cable for physical damage. Look for bent pins on the connector, frayed wires, or other signs of wear that could interrupt the signal. Finally, test with a known working DVI cable to confirm if the issue is with your current cable. This helps isolate whether the problem is hardware-related. Use the monitor's on-screen display menu to manually switch the input source. The OSD is the built-in menu system that appears on your screen. Locate the input selection option within the OSD. Look for Input Select or Source in the menu. Different brands may label it differently. For example, Lenovo uses port settings. Dell monitors display input source directly in their OSD menu. Once in the input menu, choose HDMI or DisplayPort as your input source, based on which cable you're using. If the monitor is truly stuck on DVI, it may not respond to OSD commands. This could indicate a hardware problem requiring further troubleshooting. To configure GPU output, access your NVIDIA control panel. Navigate to the display settings and ensure that HDMI or DisplayPort is selected as the primary output instead of DVI. For AMD users, open Radeon settings and check the system configuration. Make sure HDMI or DisplayPort is set as the active output. Sometimes the GPU defaults to DVI, causing the monitor to stay on that input. Check your output selection and reboot the system after making changes to apply them properly. Check the ASUS support website for your monitor model for any available firmware updates. Firmware updates often address input detection bugs and improve compatibility. Similarly, ensure your GPU drivers are up to date. Outdated drivers can cause communication issues between the GPU and the monitor. Use DDU, Display Driver Uninstaller, for a clean removal before installing the latest drivers. A simple power cycle can often resolve temporary glitches. First, turn off the monitor and unplug it from the power outlet. Wait for 30 seconds to allow the monitor's electronics to fully discharge. Then plug the monitor back in and turn it on. While powering on, hold the input button to reset the monitor's input detection. This power cycle can reset temporary firmware glitches that cause the monitor to get stuck on DVI input. DVI is an older technology that is gradually being phased out as manufacturers shift to more advanced connectors. While Dual-Link DVI can handle resolutions up to 2060 by 1600 at 60 Hz, it falls short of the capabilities offered by HDMI 2.1 and DisplayPort. For better compatibility and future-proofing, consider switching to HDMI or DisplayPort. HDMI 2.1 offers up to 48 Gbps bandwidth for high-resolution displays. DisplayPort also offers superior bandwidth and features like adaptive sync, making it ideal for modern gaming and professional displays. If you must use DVI, be aware that HDMI to DVI adapters can introduce latency and may not support all resolutions or features. If none of the previous troubleshooting steps resolve the issue, the DVI port itself may be experiencing hardware degradation, particularly in older monitors that have been in use for several years. At this point, contact ASUS support for professional repair options. If your monitor is still under warranty, ASUS typically offers free repairs for this type of hardware issue. In some cases, the problem requires motherboard-level repair, where technicians access the internal circuitry of the monitor to replace or fix the damaged DVI port components. Be aware that DVI ports are increasingly prone to failure due to wear and tear from repeated cable insertions and general aging of the components.